Now we view outtakes from the film. At the dinner table, Mama's little boy rips a fart.
Oh, my Lord. I'm sorry, do it again.
Go on, fart. I hope your asshole fall out. I thought the colonic was a massage.
Now, Eddie Murphy as Professor Clump looks at us.
What film is this?
During another take, a sexy lady walks out.
Get back in there.
We ain't ready for you yet. Now, what are you saying? Hold on, let me go deal with my girl.
Now, Jason's head blocks our view.
Clump, the cages, what happened? They can't see me with your head there.
I made a pot last week. Smelled so bad it had a chain hanging from it.
Grandma Clump leans over with laughter and throws up her hands. In another scene, Sherman sleeps on his couch with a mouthful of ice cream. He starts laughing, and it dribbles out. Now, Cletus Clump.
I seen Sherman get so hungry once when he was young, he beat up a grown man.
I'm sorry.
Carla sits next to Sherman's muscular brother.
I'm freaking out over here because Eddie's over here saying some wild crap.
The little boy rips more farts.
Oh, you're supposed to say excuse me. Man, you're supposed to say little Hercules.
Mama Clump leans back and cracks up. Now, Grandma Clump.
Come on, kid, come on. Nah, okay, come on.
She pulls off her wig, revealing a skull cap. She rolls her eyes, slides off her glasses, and unbuttons her shawl.
Come on, Cletus, no, come on. No, okay, come on, let's do this.
Fade to black. This film has been described for blind and visually impaired audiences by descriptive video service WGBH Boston. Described by Christina Faust and Brian Gould. Descriptions read by Rena Baskin. Funding provided by the United States Department of Education. For more information about DVS, call toll-free 1-800-333-1203 or write to our email address, dvs@wgbh.org. Remaining opening titles. Imagine Entertainment presents a Brian Grazer production, a Tom Shadyac film. With Jada Pinkett, James Coburn, Larry Miller, Dave Chappelle, and John Ailes. Casting by Alita Chappelle, CSA. Music by David Newman. Music supervision by Danny Bramson. Costumes designed by Ha Win. Special makeup effects by Rick Baker. Visual effects supervisor John Farrat. Co-producer James D. Brubaker. Film editor Don Zimmerman, ACE. Production designer William Elliott. Director of photography Julio Macat. Based on the motion picture written by Jerry Lewis and Bill Richmond. Executive producers Jerry Lewis, Karen Cahala, and Mark Lipsky. Screenplay by David Sheffield and Barry W. Blaustein, and Tom Shadyac and Steve Odekirk. Produced by Brian Grazer and Russell Simmons. Directed by Tom Shadyac. End credits roll. Unit Production Manager Darrell Cass. First Assistant Director David B. Hausholter. Second Assistant Directors Daniel M. Stillman and Rebecca Strickland. Production Supervisor Tina L. Fortenberry. Visual Effects Producer Robert Stad. Additional casting by John A. Aiello. Cast: Eddie Murphy as Sherman Clump. Eddie Murphy as Buddy Love. Eddie Murphy as Lance Perkins. Eddie Murphy as Papa Clump. Eddie Murphy as Mama Clump. Eddie Murphy as Grandma Clump. Eddie Murphy as Ernie Clump. Jada Pinkett as Carla Purdy. James Coburn as Harlan Hartley. Larry Miller as Dean Richmond. Dave Chappelle as Reggie Warrington. John Ailes as Jason. Patricia Wilson as Dean's secretary. Jamal Mixon as Ernie Clump Jr. Nicole McAuley as the Fit Woman. Hamilton Von Watts as the health instructor. Chow Li Chi as the Asian man. Tony Carlin as the host. Quinn Duffy as the bartender. Montel Jordan as himself. Doug Williams as the band leader. David Ramsey and Chaz Lamar Shepard as the students. Lisa Halpern as the sad fat girl. Mark McPherson, John Prosky, and Michael Rothar as the doctors. Sarah Ballantyne as the nurse. Greg Natali as the cop. Roy Werner as the guy in crowd. Retha Jones as the woman in crowd. Steve Monroe as the student. Joe Greco as the security guard. Nick Kokotakis as the waiter. Stanley D. Petter III as the fireman, Muhammad Mohsen as the bodybuilder, Michael D. Starks as the boxing trainer, Julianne Christie as the sporting goods clerk, Christy Blanchard Power as the woman dignitary, Alexia Robinson, Lisa Boyle, and Athena Massey as the sexy girls, Judith Woodbury as Wellman College alumni, puppeteers Jürgen Hyman, Winston M. Elizalde, Mark Brian Wilson, and William Sturgeon, Eddie Murphy stand-in Roger Reed, Jada Pinkett stand-in Denise Smith, Sherman Klump stand-in Steve Jones, stunt coordinator Mickey Gilbert, stunt coordinator Godzilla sequence Jake Crawford, stunts Eugene Collier, Jimmy Lewis Jr., Tim Gilbert, Troy Gilbert, Stanton Barrett, Lance Gilbert, Joe Finnegan, Eddie Smith, Carlton Holder, Chuck Hosack, Benny Moore, Anthony Schmidt, Peter Horak, Jack Carpenter, Marion Green, Francine Morris, Vicky Sims, Cheryl Bermeo, Cher Ray, Lane Levitt, Brian Moore, Melvin Jones, Baba Pisa, Wright Minor, Monty Simmons, Tom Harper, and LaFay Baker. Art Director Greg Papaglia, Assistant Art Director Sally Thornton, Set Decorator Catherine Peters, Camera Operator Lex DuPont, First Assistant Camera Richard Craig Menardis, Second Assistant Camera Stefane Kojo Goldberg, B Camera Operator David E. Diano, First Assistant B Camera Billy Clevenger, Loader Patrick Huggins, Still Photographer Bruce McBroom, Video Assist Paul Murphy, VIFX Assistant Camera Dwayne Milwaukee, Scott Campbell, David Riley, and Luke G. McNair, Motion Control General Lift, 24-frame playback, Playback Technologies, Steve Irwin, Ben A. Betts, and Richard Alonso, Sound Mixer Jose Antonio Garcia, Boom Operator Jonathan Lee Gur-Fu, Cableman Jeff Erdman, Script Supervisor Catherine Wagand, Production Coordinator Gretchen Van Zeebroek, Assistant Production Coordinator Maureen Stanton Levesque, Unit Publicist Deborah Simrin, Production Auditor Janet Waddles, First Assistant Accountant Glenn Richard, Second Assistant Accountant Lori Dodsworth, Payroll Accountant Bob Hartman, Accounting Assistant Margot Romano, Chief Lighting Technicians Mike G. Moyer and Don Nygren, Assistant Chief Lighting Technicians Richard Hartley and David Burnett, Rigging Gaffer Ronald Klein, Electricians Dennis Groh, David Tutaki, Jay Galbo, and Felt Saucier, Universal Best Boy Ronald Ash, Key Grip Gary Dagg, Best Boy Joe Kelly, Dolly Grip Mike Connors, Rigging Key Grips Brian D. Mills and David W. Nims, Best Boy Rigging Joe Louis Garcia, Grips Derek Bartol, Leo Behar, and J. Steve Iraguchi. Set designers James F. Clayton Sr., Yvonne Garnier Hackle, and Dawn Snyder. Storyboard artists Dan Sweetman, Daryl Henley, Len Morganti, and Darren R. Doctorman. Art Department Coordinator Marisol Jimenez. Art Department Assistant Douglas B. Netter. Leadman John Maskovich. Key set dresser Greg Wilkinson. Set dressers Sherry Watson, Mike Thurman, Chris Pescuzzo, Larry Cornick, Christopher Kennedy, and Joel Osborne. On-set dressers Mark Travis Little and John H. Maxwell. Drapery Thomas Sharp. Property Master Rick Young. Assistant props Michael Carrillo, Mike Cunningham, and Drew Petrata. Makeup artist to Mr. Murphy, Toy Russell Van Lierop. Key hairstylist Beth Miller. Hairstylist Deborah Ann Piper. Makeup for Jada Pinkett, Judy Murdoch. Key makeup artist Jerry B. Oppenheim. Special makeup effect assistants David Leroy Anderson and Tony G. Sculptors Mitch Devaney, Eddie Yang, Matt Rose, Jim McPherson, and Aaron Sims. Mold makers Jim McLaughlin, Brent Baker, Gary Pulowski, Chad Waters, Russell Seifert, and Robert Freitas. Fatsuit Claire Mannion, Jana Crawford, Sally Ray, and Maria Sundin. Foam technicians Todd Heidel and Joseph Simon. Seamer Carol Koch. Shelley Mechanic Jürgen Hyman. Flocking Lisa Cordero and Glenn Eisner. Body bladders Mike Elizalde. Hairpieces Denise Dillon. Shop foreman Bill Sturgeon. Administration Debbie Perillard. Special effects coordinator Burt Dalton. Dream sequence coordinator Bruno Van Zeebreck. Foreman Rodney Bird. Special effects Steve Purcell, Jim Doyle, Chuck Hesse, Ted Allen, Robbie Knott, Curtis Decker, Mike Wilmot, Richard Stutzman, and Philip D. Bartko. Special effects craft service Bruce Hansen. Costume supervisors Loring Spicer and Chick Generelli. Costumers Charlene Amato, Molly C. Mitchell, and Bob Morgan. Mr. Murphy's costumer Fedorov F. Collin III. Assistant to Ha Win Christopher J. Christoph. Location Manager Arlene Cahala. Assistant Location Managers David Thornsbury and Jeremy Alter. Location Assistant A. Brett Pardo. Transportation Coordinator Edward D. Arter. Transportation Captain Ronald Dinson. Transportation Dispatcher Tina M. Arter Duquette. Construction Coordinators Dennis DeWay and Bruce Gefeller. Construction Foreman Stephen Fegley and Alan D. Laslovich. Paint Foreman Enrico Perinelli. Plaster Foreman Alexandro Diaz Jr., Labor Foreman Mario D'Alfonso and Edward R. Alvardo, Foreman James Orendorf, George Stokes and Richard Watson, Standby Painters Robert Stephen and Hank Giardina, Construction Accountant Michael Morgenthal, Greensman Frank Capiello and Lazar Samerzich, Casting Assistant Renton Kirk, Casting Administrator Terry L. Lamfers, Extras Casting Coordinator Eddie Smith, Extras Casting, Central Casting, Carl Joy, Diana Carroll, and Shannon K. Dunn. Aerobics Consultant Michelle Clark. Technical Advisor Wayne W. Grody, M.D., Ph.D. Executive Assistant to Brian Grazer, Maureen Cowan. Assistant to Brian Grazer, Jason Hellman. Executive Assistant to Eddie Murphy, Charisse M. Hewitt. Personal Assistants to Eddie Murphy, Randy Lee Webster, Donnie Johnson, and Jamal Guillory. Executive Assistant to Mark Lipsky, Tiffany McLynn Lohr. Assistant to Mark Lipsky, Tracy A. Sullivan. Assistant to Karen Cahala, Susie Gilstrap. Assistant to Tom Shadyac, Leslie A. Iworks. Assistant to James D. Brubaker, Cassie Alter. Assistant to Visual Effects, Mary Ann Gallo. Assistant to Danny Bramson, Jason Chienkas. Second Assistant Directors, Robert A. Neft and Tyrone S. Walker. Set Production Assistants, Carlos de la Torre, Sammy Kasim, Wayne Witherspoon, Micheline Mundo, Elliot Durant III, and Sherry Hanger. Production Secretary, Mandy Green. Office Production Assistants, Paul Ripple, Leslie Coogan, Beverly Brooks, and Bob Bozier. Production Associates, Michael J. Kelly, Joseph Hesekiel, Joseph P. Rappa, Stephen M. Smith, and Michael Vieira. Animal Action by Carl Lewis Miller. Assistant Animal Trainers Glenn D. Garner, April Morley, and Shauna Skidmore. Hamster Caretakers Michael Bullion and Nicole Norton. Additional Handlers Terry Knapp, Kathy McCallum, Teresa Miller, Carol Riggins, Melinda Eichberg, Stacy Brem, Rick London, and Lind Papineau. Catering Home on the Range. Craft Services John Starr and Christopher Starr. Food Stylists Megan Fitzgerald, Yoko Given, Veronica Johnston, Vincent Beckley, and Sandra Kagan. Studio Teacher Jack Stern. Set Medic Tamara Mayaro. Massage Therapist Diane Hubner. Security CAST Security. Projectionist Lou Sumian Jr. First Assistant Editor Lightworks and Visual Effects Editor Scott Hill. First Assistant Editor Don Thompson. Second Assistant Editors Dean Zimmerman and Dan Zimmerman. Re-recording mixers Steve Maslow and Greg Landacker. Additional re-recording mixer Peter Reale. Stage recordists Brian Picassi, Rich Coleman, Brad Biggert, Jeanette Cremarosa, and Kevin Brooks. Re-recorded at Universal Studios Sound Facility. Supervising Effects Editor Michael Hilkeen. Sound Effects Designer Ken Johnson. Electronic Sound Editors Odin Benitez, Alan Hartz, Robert Fitzgerald, and C.T. Welsh. Dialogue Editors Ed Callahan, Simon Koch, and Jeffrey Rosen. ADR Supervisor Editor Michael Hilkeen. Foley Supervisor John O. Wild. Foley Editor Leslie Gollin. First Assistant Sound Editor Randall Guth. Second Assistant Sound Editor Douglas Parker. Apprentice Sound Editors Deidre Leonard and Otis McKinney. Production Assistants Gail K. Markley and Amber Hilkeen. Foley Artists John Cucci and Dan O'Connell. Foley Mixer Jim Ashwill. L.A. ADR Mixers Alan Holly and Fred Liu. L.A. ADR Recordists Greg Lowe and Jim Collins. New York ADR Mixer David Bolton. Voice Casting Barbara Harris. Music Editors Jeff Carson and J.J. George. Orchestrations David Newman, Zandy Janko. Synthesizers Marty Frasu. Contractor Sandy DeCrescent. Scoring Mixer Bob Fernandez. Copyist Joanne Kane Music Services. Score Consultant Chris Newman. Negative Cutter Sandy Brundage. Color Timer Jim Passon. Main Titles and Opticals Pacific Title. End Titles Cinema Research Corporation. Special Visual Effects, The Computer Film Company, Incorporated. Janik Surs, Janet Yale, Robert Hodgson, Stuart McGara, David Furrer, Frank Maurer, Betsy Patterson, Eric Weinshank, Patrick Brennan, Travis Bauman, Robert Chapin, and Aisling O'Brien. Light Matters Incorporated. Visual Effects Supervisor Matt Beck. Digital Supervisor Edson Williams. Visual Effects Coordinator R. Scott Shields. Digital Compositor Andy Harris. Animator Compositor Greg Strauss. 3D Animators Colin Strauss, Ernie Renard, and Tim Clark. Digital Artists Jason Dunn, Richard Garrison, and Eric Lillies. Digital Assistant Matt Dugan. Still Photographer Alex Brown. Rhythm and Hues Studio. Digital Effects Supervisor Bruno George. CG Supervisor Rodian Paul, David Smith, and Harold Buckman. Digital Painters Colin Campbell, Anita Cukers, John McGee. Production Coordinator Tamara Nobles. Editor Josh Margulies. Assistant Editor Robert Yano. Editorial Production Assistant Tony Barraza. Scanning Greg Hannigan and Barbara Bordeaux. Software Support Linda Martino, Eugene Vendorovsky. Digital Production Supervisor Jill Cherie Bergen. CG Animators Betsy Asher Hall, Doug Sayre, Supanwich Juck Somsaman, Mark Hamilton, John Hughes, Randy Way, Alessandro Giacomini, Sylvia Wong, Cleveland Mitchell, Julius Yang, and Bud Myrick. Production Assistant Merrill Jacobs. Production Managers Barbara McCullough and David Weinberg. Film Recording Daniel Fazel, Mary Mattern, Suzanne McEachran, Jonah Michaud. Modelers Randy King and Nancy Klimley. And Gravity. Songs Macho Man, written by Jacques Morali, Peter Whitehead, Victor Willis, and Henri Bololo. Performed by the Village People, courtesy of Mercury Records by arrangement with Polygram Film and TV Licensing. Super Bad, written and performed by James Brown, courtesy of Polydor Records by arrangement with Polygram Film and TV Licensing. I Got You, I Feel Good, written and performed by James Brown, courtesy of Polydor Records by arrangement with Polygram Film and TV Licensing. This Is How We Do It, written by Montel Jordan, O.G. Pierce, and Ricky Walters. Performed by Montel Jordan. Courtesy of Rush Associated Labels. Recordings by arrangement with Polygram Film and TV Licensing. Contains a sample of Children's Story. Performed by Slick Rick. Courtesy of Def Jam Records Incorporated. By arrangement with Polygram Film and Television Licensing. Somethin' for the Honeys, written by O.G. Pierce, Doug Rashid, Cletus Smith, Dennis Thomas, George Brown, Robert Bell, Robert Mickens, Richard Westfield, Alton Taylor, and Kalis Bayan. Performed by Montel Jordan, courtesy of Rush Associated Labels. Recordings by arrangement with Polygram Film and TV Licensing. Emotionally in Love, written by Valerie George and Kyle West. Performed by Valerie George, courtesy of Motown Record Company, LP. Bounce to This, written by Montel Jordan and Chappelle Crawford, performed by Montel Jordan featuring Cadence. Courtesy of Rush Associated Labels Recordings. Close the Door, written by Kenneth Gamble and Leon Huff, performed by Teddy Pendergrass, courtesy of Gamble Huff Productions and Philadelphia International Records. I'm So Excited, written by Ruth and Anita Pointer, performed by the Pointer Sisters, courtesy of the RCA Records label of BMG Entertainment. Boys Will Be Boys, written by Jolien Skinner and Vit Wren, performed by Backstreet Boys, courtesy of Jive Records. Homework, written by Danielle Lopresti and Dan Serafini, performed by Danielle Lopresti. Sexy and a Mother Forget It, written by Danielle Lopresti, Worthy Davis, and Andre Berry, performed by Danielle Lopresti. Strokin, written and performed by Clarence Carter, courtesy of Clarence Carter Company. In the Mood, written by Joseph Garland and Andy Rasaf, performed by the John E. Oliver Orchestra. Little Brown Jug, arranged by William Finnegan Jr. and Glenn Miller. Lovin' You, written by Dick Rudolph and Minnie Ripperton. Buddy Loves Piano Styling, performed by Harry Garfield. Def Jam Recording. Special thanks to Cybex Exercise Equipment, University of California, Los Angeles, the Biltmore Hotel, Los Angeles, Henry E. Huntington Library and Art Gallery, Chrysler Corporation, Hadler Public Relations Incorporated, Streetlights Production Assistant Program. Production services provided by Michael Production Contractors. Australia, Manager, Kamisha Corporation. Production services arranged by Richard F. Reiner. From Here to Eternity clip courtesy of Columbia Pictures. Animal action was monitored by the American Humane Association. No animal was harmed in the making of this film. Ariflex 535 camera by Otto Nemens. Color by Deluxe, Eastman Color Film. DTS stereo in selected theaters. Digital DTS sound in selected theaters. Number 34400 Motion Picture Association of America. This picture made under the jurisdiction of IATSE, affiliated with AFL-CIO-CLC. Copyright 1996, Universal City Studios, Incorporated. All rights reserved. Country of first publication, United States of America. Universal City Studios, Incorporated is the author of this motion picture for purposes of the Berne Convention and all national laws giving effect hereto. The characters and events depicted in this photoplay are fictitious. Any similarity to actual persons living or dead is purely coincidental. This motion picture is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability and criminal prosecution. A logo appears over a blue background. This motion picture has been rated PG-13. Parents strongly cautioned. Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13. By the Classification and Rating Administration, Motion Picture Association of America.